I'm not here to murder. Bend the knee and join me. Or refuse and die.
You need to find a way to make her listen.
Whatever stands in our way, we will defeat it.
Bran saw the Night King and his army marching towards Eastwatch.
Bad things are coming.
Bad things are coming, everybody. Let's break this down. And be sure to subscribe if you're finding me for the first time. So you start out with Tyrion looking like he's really worried that Daenerys is going to kill Jaime as well as all the other Lannister soldiers. The way they cut it jumps around in time a little bit, so obviously they deal with that. Then you get the Varys line where he's talking to Tyrion, you need to find a way to make her listen. And it makes it seem like she's going off the rails, but this feels like another version of the drama at Winterfell, which really wasn't drama to begin with. Like, they hyped it up before the season, so you're like, is Sansa going to be fighting with Jon? Then you see what that looks like on screen. So they're just trying to make Dany seem like she's slowly going off the rails, even though I don't think that's the case. And wouldn't it be great, though, if Jon Snow is the one to make her listen? Because on his advice, she went straight to Jaime instead of going to King's Landing. So I know there's a big question mark about what happened after that battle, but I think all the big characters are still fine. So you have Bronn, Jaime, then you have the Tarleys. I think they're fine too. You see a couple of them standing right up here at the head as Daenerys is talking to them, telling them that they have to bend the knee or they die. So it seems like a little bit of a repeat of Robb Stark mistakes. Maybe Daenerys will make a couple mistakes, but I don't think that she's going to kill Jaime. I think he'll be totally fine. The producers even said that Jaime is critical to the future of the story, so he has heavy plot armor, even though he's sinking to the bottom of that pond, however deep it is. Somebody will fish him out. You have Cersei, who now has the gold. You only get that quick scene with Qyburn in that offhanded line. They've really lost supplies, but they have the gold to hire the Golden Company, so it seems like they'll be getting more troops. She was also going to use that to bolster their other forces as well as build more ships. So it seems like a bigger setback than it actually is, but it takes time to build all those things, even if you're Euron Greyjoy and you can build 1,000 ships overnight. But I'm really excited to see what happens when Jon Snow finally meets Drogon. This is the first time that I think that he's been face to face with the dragons. He's been on Dragonstone for a long time, so he's been around the dragons, but this is the first time we actually get to see him up close on screen. He didn't look terrified the first time he saw them, mostly just flabbergasted. But as they've been including all kinds of subtle winks at his Targaryen heritage, his father, this would be a prime place to do that. Sometimes those are a little more on the nose than others. Like when the Lords of the North say a Targaryen can't be trusted, just as Jon Snow is giving them this big speech about going to Dragonstone. Or the really on the nose time where he says he's not a Stark just as a dragon swoops down screeching at him. And if there were any questions about what happened to Drogon, like you see him on the perch here, I love the way this looks like a nest in the background here. That's how big he is. But he flew back to Dragonstone, so even though he was wounded by the scorpion, he will heal. And I know there were a lot of questions about why would you call it a scorpion if there wasn't poison in the stinger? So maybe Qyburn, who's a master of poisons, put something on those iron arrows. It's always possible. I think if they were going to do something like that, you would find out relatively quickly because a couple weeks seem to be passing between episodes. But even if Drogon were to eventually die someday, the dragons are effectively sexless. Like they can actually mate with each other if they needed to. So you could actually make more dragons as long as there were two of them still around. Love the shot of Jon Snow at the map table. It feels like they made a new version of the table for this season, and obviously they built a bunch of new sets for Dragonstone because you've already seen it in several different angles and places that we haven't seen before. They built the throne room for this year, all the cave sets, but you also filmed that table room from different angles. When Stannis was in it before, you only saw it when it was really dark, and they filmed him against this wall with the dragon carving in it, and that was about it. So it is one of my favorite new sets. And I love the cave set from last night too. Everybody was making the joke that Jon Snow scribbled all those drawings himself before Daenerys came in to convince her. But even though that's kind of ridiculous, yes, the drawings did look relatively primitive. So I did think that was a little bit silly, but they just want to convey the idea that the children of the forest who used to give obsidian to the First Men probably got a lot of it from Dragonstone before there was ever a castle or a keep there. Based on the readings that Sam has done, though, it seems like the Valyrians, who didn't build an outpost there till thousands of years after the Long Night, didn't know anything about the origins of the children of the forest or the cave. It's per his readings, they would add dragon glass to their structures, their buildings, without really understanding the mythological significance to it. They just used it as a building tool. But speaking of mythology, getting into the War for the Dawn, Jon mentions Bran saw the Night King with the army of the dead at Eastwatch by the Sea. So that confirms a couple things. They've sent a raven from Winterfell, so he knows that Bran is there now. He probably also knows that Arya is there. But Daenerys is still pissed about her war with Cersei, so it sounds like there's still going to be a lot of back and forth about what they do next, knowing that there's an army of the dead, and how they get everybody on the same page. So this sounds like where we get to our plan, where you see Jon Snow in this small band of people north of the Wall with Tormund. So just a quick reminder that the wildlings have already gone to Eastwatch by the Sea. That's why you haven't seen them too much this season. Tormund has that line where he says, I guess we're the Night's Watch now. So at some point you have to sync back up with that storyline. So we'll see how quickly they make a beeline for the Wall. But there's still all this stuff going on with Cersei in the battle from last week that they have to resolve first. Looking at the ravens fly over seems like it's connected to the scene from the trailer that we saw earlier this year, where the Night King turns and looks up, watching Bran while he's watching him. So it is a bit strange that they didn't include him in the trailer. So it sounds like they just want you to think about what's going on south of the Wall is a bigger part of the plot than what's going on north, like still pushing that off towards the end of the season. Because last week's episode was so short, we didn't get any Samwell scene, so I'm expecting him to come back. He tends to find something really cool or critical information in every episode that he's in, so just expecting another big revelation or a teaser bomb, like Gilly here reading all about Azor Ahai, them reading about the history of the kingdom, still kind of disappointed about the grayscale thing, but whatever. And Ser Jorah has been making his way back to Dragonstone, it seems, so maybe we'll see him turn up too, but he's nowhere in the preview here. So the only other thing I heard people really wondering about after last week's episode is whether or not Tyrion is going to try and help Jaime escape. I do think that Jaime is going to make it back to King's Landing, but I think if he did something as crazy as releasing Tyrion the way that Catelyn Stark released Jaime, then I think that she would be more pissed about Tyrion in these later scenes when they're back on Dragonstone. Like I said, I think there'll be a little bit of tension between Tyrion and Daenerys, but it'll be tension in the way that there was tension between Jon Snow and Sansa. Ultimately, I don't think he's going anywhere. People are like, is he going to defect? What's going on? No, I don't think it's going to be anything so serious. So leave all your questions in the comments. I've already gotten a couple requests for bonus videos that I'll probably do later this week, but my Q&A video will post tomorrow just like normal. So anything you want me to include in that, just leave that in the comments. Congratulations to the latest HBO Now giveaway winner, Matthew Bavender. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. While you wait for everything, you can click here for my episode 4 video, and you can click here for my episode 3 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.